Oh, just a heads up. We are going to be recording this. We're going to send this out later to everyone who participated, as well as any folks who couldn't make it. Or I think this is just going to live in a database somewhere, and then we can pull it up from time to time if needed. Okay, so a little about me. My name is Brandon Cardenas. I've been with ATOMIC for about 10 years. I got my start with the company doing grunt work in the shop. I worked my way up to the rental side of things, packing orders, doing check-ins, things like that, and then gradually moved into logistics, where I handled shipping for our West Coast office for several years. And then around 2018 is when I actually joined the sales team, which brings me to my current role now as a senior account manager. I recognize some faces. I recognize some names, so forgive me if I don't catch it right off the bat. So we're going to start by just talking about our super levers. The connectors all work the same. There's a couple different versions. Today, we're mostly going to be talking about things like C4s, C3s. Hopefully everyone can see that. So this is a C3. We name these things this way. C's are for corners. And if you ever come across an order that has like F2s or F4s, it's named that because it's flat. And then the number corresponds with how many levers there are on the actual piece. I'm just going to pop up in my chat. Great. So here we go. So today we're going to be talking about the difference between SuperWalls and SuperColumns. It's fairly self-explanatory, but again, any question you've ever had about this stuff, please let me know. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I was talking to a friend earlier this morning, and he said, I don't want to ask any dumb questions. The only dumb question is the one that doesn't get asked. So hit me with whatever you got. So we are going to start by showing off how SuperWalls and SuperColumns can be used together. As you can see, these are our Razor SuperWalls being used with our Chad SuperColumns. A couple of things just to quickly note. All of our panels are the same size. They all measure 22.5 inches by 22.5 inches. If you ever place an order for SuperWalls or SuperColumns, just know that the instructions are not panel specific because they all work the same way. So next, we have a nice example of our comb superwall being used with our Clover SuperColumns. Another thing to keep in mind, the max height you're going to be able to do with a freestanding column or freestanding wall is going to be 7 panels, which is roughly 14 feet. You do need 4 sides in order to make both work. We've had some folks in the past try to cheat it by doing 2 or 3 to less than good results. So again, we're going to do all 4 sides on these. So next, another example. We have our, move my camera here. We have our chiclets being used with Clover. I personally always feel this is a really nice look that's a little underutilized. I really like the look of the sort of 3D effect panels with the CNC routed. I think it looks really sharp. Next, we have our flow panel being used as both SuperWall and SuperColumns. This is one of our newer panels. The neat thing about flow is you can come up with a lot of different looks with this based on how you rotate the panel. As you can see right now, we have sort of the squiggle thing. If you were to rotate them, have them all facing the same way, you could get more of like a circle target effect. It's really cool. As you can see on these particular columns, you can do flow on all 4 sides if you want. We could, if budget's ever concerned, we can always cheat the backside with our propane panels, since as you can see on the SuperWall, I'm moving right along. And like I said, if there's any questions, drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I kind of feel like I'm doing a book report. So now we're going to do a little bit deeper dive into the SuperColumns. We're going to start off with the instructions. So the way you build a column is you lay out a base. You're going to use your C3s that I mentioned earlier. Everyone can see this. My background is kind of blurring it out. So the C3 is going to connect to the base here, as you see in all the corners. Then it's going to connect to your panels, which is what's going to allow you to actually build a column. You'll then move on to our C4s. Trying to get this in frame here, sorry. Hopefully everyone can see that. So that is actually what the C4 is, the piece that's going to allow you to connect each level of the column It's going to go in the corners, and you just start building up from there. As you can see, it's ground supported. It's going to take about 5 minutes per cube. That is pretty accurate. I've assembled 1 million of these in my time with Atomic. Super columns are one of the easier, quicker looks to assemble. Let me check the chat. You can add frosties. We're going to see that in some of the examples that I have. So any of our CNC routed panels, you can back with frosties for sort of a diffuser look. Again, we're back. This is a closer shot of the chads that we initially talked about. Here are our dash. This is a good example of something similar to the flow, where if you rotate the panel, you can get different looks. As you can see, you can do sort of vertical lines, you can do horizontal. These are some columns that utilize dash on all 4 sides. Another example of our CNC routed panels, the comb. As you can see, the columns always look better when they're staggered at different heights. I know that a lot of times folks will do a wall in the center of the stage and then sort of stagger downwards with their columns in order to achieve sort of an interesting look. Here are our frosty panels. Frosty panels can be used to back up the CNC routed panels. They can also be used on their own. It really just sort of boils down to the look that you're going for. Let me check the chat here. So I'm new to the concept. Yes, so the columns, these all are being lit in order to achieve this look. So the columns or the panels themselves is more of a gray texture. It's what we call the classic atomic gray. It's made from a plastic called Comatex. The frosty is made from a slightly different material, which is what allows it to have this sort of frosted look. But everything comes in this standard atomic gray. It takes light really well, as you can see. So on this dash photo, it's being lit internally as well as from the outside, and that's how they're achieving this purple blue look. Same thing with the wall and the columns. These are both being lit internally as well as externally. Give me 1 second here. I'm just going to double check, make sure I didn't miss any questions. If you put a battery light inside and it dies. So if that's ever a concern, let us know. We do have some panels that we could use on the backside that's going to give you easy access, whether that is one of our propane panels with a hole cut into it, or we might even recommend using something like a clover panel or a tube panel on the backside, just so that way you can easily get in and change batteries or fiddle with lighting or whatever. No worry, Mike Butterfield. Thanks for joining. All right. So here we are. This is an excellent example of our panels being backed with frosty to create sort of a diffuser look. This is our hive panel being backed with frosty. As you can see, it gives it a really cool glow effect. Once again, the columns being used at different heights for this interesting look. These are being lit internally as well as backlit for the udons, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So just to summarize what we were talking about, the max height of a super column is going to be 7 panels tall, roughly 14 feet tall. All 4 sides are needed to build a column. Again, you can do textured panels on all 4 sides if that's the look you're going for. If your clients are only going to see 2 sides of a column, we can cheat it on the backside with propane panels, help save you a couple bucks. Otherwise, it's going to be about $100 per level per column. So this one column here would be about $300 if you were to do blubby on all sides. And all of our super lever panels can be used for super columns. The panels all work the same. Like I said, whenever you receive instructions for this stuff, it's not panel specific because it all works exactly the same. So next, we're going to be moving into our talking about our super walls. So super walls work very similarly to the columns. You're essentially just building a bigger column. So you'll lay out your bases depending on how wide you need to go. We've had folks do as small as 2 panels wide. I've had some folks go as wide as 30 panels wide. There's some tricks we can do if we ever cross that bridge. You're going to get C3s on the side again. You're going to use your C4s in the middle. That's what's going to allow you to, jumping over here to step 3, that's what's going to allow you to put the sides on, as well as the front and back face. Again, with anything freestanding, you do need all four sides. So we do have the option of doing textured panels on the backside. If this is being used in like a convention hall and people are going to see both sides, we can also create sort of the light box effects by using the propane panels on the backside. And then what connects the front side to the backside is what we call our dog bone, because it looks like a dog bone. Hopefully I'm picking this up camera. There we go. That's a decent shot of it. 32 feet wide last week. Please elaborate on tricks. So we're not covering it in this meeting, but if you ever have a question about it, or you want me to send you specific instructions for it, I'm more than happy to do that. What you would do is basically you would use our mouse hole panel as internal supports. It's a slightly different lever, and that's what's actually going to allow you to make something wider with a little bit more stability. Do you need to put sandbags on this? No. That being said, in my experience, it never hurts to have a couple on hand just in case there's ever any concern if, you know, it's in a situation where a lot of people are going to be walking by, or there's maybe a band on stage, things like that. So we'll jump over to step 4. It's basically the same as the column. You keep building up. You're going to use our half panels on the side here. They're called half panels because they're half the size of our regular panels. And once you're finished, you also have a row of half panels on top, and that's what allows you to build a freestanding wall. Bear with me one second there, Alex. On slide 16, there were lights on the truss. So these are actually, the picture's a little deceiving. Those lights are not attached to the columns. We do have an option. All of our panels you can also hang as either a flat panel or flat columns or a flat hanging wall. But for today, we're talking about freestanding stuff. But again, if you have any more questions, hit me up. If I get, 100 requests from this meeting, I will distribute them to our team. The great thing about Atomic is our team is super flexible. We all support each other. If I don't have an answer for you immediately, someone else will, and we all share in the workload. So yeah, hit me up after this meeting if you have any further questions. Yeah, Alex, so I know you guys just tackled that recently. It can be a little tricky. There's a little bit of a learning curve, especially when you're doing the interior column or the interior supports, like I said. Again, that might be something that we take offline just because it is a little bit more involved. I'm happy to walk you through it and kind of talk about that a little more. But essentially, you're going to be attaching, you're going to use a slightly different lever that's going to allow you to put your front-facing panel, your back-facing panel, as well as a mouse hole panel sort of on these seams, and it's going to give you almost like interior support is the best way I can describe it. We can create 3D renderings. We do offer that service. If you know exactly what panel you have in mind and you have a specific look, we can run with that. If you have no idea and you just have a client who says, I love your stuff, think of something, we can do that as well. There's different pricing tiers for that stuff, just as a heads up. We can also provide a free diagram if you just want to see what like a finished wall is going to look like, similar to this wall right here. That's pretty comparable to what a diagram would look like. We can tackle that, yeah. So Nigeria, I'll be honest, is going to be tricky. That being said, it's not impossible. You're also welcome to handle your own shipping. If just because I know some folks with international stuff, it gets a little hairy. But again, let us know what you're thinking, and we will do our best to figure it out. There's a recommendation for lighting. It really just depends. Bear with me one second. I'm getting caught up on my questions. A recommendation for lighting. Just depends. If you want to flood these with light, you can. If there's no interior supports, you can put light along the entire bottom. Otherwise, you're sort of working within the confine. You're going to be working to something pretty comparable to our gears wall here. To me, it looks like there's probably 3 or 4 lights in this. This is an example of the textured panel being used on both sides. All right, let me get caught up here. Ben Huter, we do have Atomic Germany. So if you ever have a need for products in Europe, we can get you handled pretty quickly. Otherwise, we have sent things as far as Japan. We've sent things to Singapore. We've sent things to Canada, obviously. So the answer is yes. Just like I said, if it's the big thing I always try to reiterate with people when I go out for visits or when we have conversations is if it's ever a question, please ask. Because again, if I don't know the answer immediately, chances are someone does. And if no one knows the answer, we can figure it out.
Don't you have a Dublin, Ireland office as well?
We do. I don't know the ins and outs of the Dublin, but I believe we have product there. That would be something that I'll have to pull a little more information on just because I don't know who the contact over there would be. Just because I primarily handle United States stuff. That being said, I've worked with the German guys. They're great. Ben and Felix, super great guys. Always happy to make an intro. They would be your best bet for Ireland if I can't crack who the rep is over there. But again, if I don't know, I'm going to ask somebody. Are the gears background custom? So no, the gears are actually a stock product that we do offer. I'm assuming you're talking about this background thing. That's actually part of the venue. If I'm not mistaken, that's a venue here in Lancaster County. So the only thing that Atomic would have provided on this would have been the gears wall itself. When should you use backlighting versus front lighting? It's going to depend on, obviously you can't backlight something if there's a solid backing to it. So we'll double back here. You wouldn't want to backlight something like this because it's a solid back. You'd want to light it internally or front light it. It really just depends on the look you're going for. If you ever want to just get some stuff in-house to be able to play around with, more than happy to help you out with that. Typically, we just ask that folks cover shipping for something like that, but we can always send samples if you want to build a test wall in-house to fiddle with it and be able to light it, stuff like that. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. We could potentially assist in building locally. That's going to be a bit of a deeper discussion. I'm going to say soft maybe on that. Shoot me an email or reach out to anyone on the team and we'll do our best to help you figure it out. So we do have symbols in both Vectorworks, DWG, OBJ, SketchUp. If you ever need files, let us know. I'm more than happy to either pass along a Dropbox or individual. If you just need something to fill out your library, just give us a shout. We can hook you up with that. SuperWalls can be used for step and repeat with custom branded panels. You're jumping a little bit ahead, but that's a teaser for next month. Sam Bratt is going to be discussing custom panels next month in a similar call like this. So make sure you keep an eye out and sign up. And if you need something in the meantime, like I said, shoot us an email. We'll help you figure it out. Cool. We're going to keep moving right along here. Just see a couple more examples. So this is our ADA panel being backed with Frosty. This would be lit internally as well as from the outside, which is how they're getting this pink purple effect. Most likely this has propane panels on the backside. But again, if it's something where people are going to be seeing both sides of it, you can do textured panels on either side. Next, we have a super wall being used with our Pippa panel. As you can see, it looks like it's textured on both sides, if I'm not mistaken. This is not being lit internally. As far as I can tell, this is being lit from the front and possibly some uplighting up here as well. And that's how they're achieving the different shades. Here is a photo of our Atlas super wall. I've had folks do things like this. I'll double back a little bit and show you. You can also do, if you don't want to do one continuous wall and you want to sort of have this staggered effect, you can build multiple walls, butt them up against each other. It really just depends on how big of a wall you need. I mean, is what it really boils down to and sort of the look that you're going for. So let me catch up to where I was. There we are at the Atlas. Here we are, a close-up of our Xscape. As you can see, the side panels and the Xscape panels themselves, they're all catching that blue light, but they are in natural light and just sort of this gray color. It takes light super, super well. Again, if you ever want to play around with this stuff, give us a shout. We're more than happy to help you out with a sample so you can test it in-house. And again, the biggest point I always try to drive home is that if there's ever a question about anything, just let us know. Because like I said, I've been here for 10 years. I don't want to say I've seen it all, but I've seen a lot. So if I don't have an answer for you immediately, I can track down someone who can help me out. And if it's something brand new that no one's ever heard of, we can test build in-house. We can send something to folks to test out in their shop. Sky's really the limit with this stuff. So, like I said, happy to answer questions. We're running a little bit ahead of schedule. I didn't realistically think this was going to take 45 minutes, so hit me with whatever you got. I don't know if the SketchUp stuff is available on the website, Joseph. If you want to shoot me or whoever your contact is over here as an email, we can kick that stuff over. My coworker, Rachel Wanger, did just drop instructions in the chat if you want to see this stuff, the design files. Like I said, I don't know if you can access the SketchUp. Usually it's DWG and Vectorworks on the website. So if you can't track it down, give us a shout. We're more than happy to pass that stuff over. So with when you're building something like this with frosty back, the connectors can handle it. Typically what I recommend for folks who have had experience with this stuff, tighten the lever to not, as tight as it can go, but pretty close. And it's going to allow you to catch both panels on the washer. So it really shouldn't be a problem. Again, if it's ever a concern, we could even do a Zoom chat one-on-one. We can kind of fiddle around with this stuff. We do have some workarounds, Lisa, for doing a U-shape. We have some bases that'll allow for that. I personally have never done one like that, but I know there are team members who have. So again, that'll be something. Short answer, yes. We can figure that out, like I said. But yes, short answer, yes. So we do have a new product coming out next week. I don't think I'm allowed to say anything else beyond that, but please keep an eye out. Give us a shout if you're interested. And then, like I said, as a little tease, next month, my good friend Sam Bratt is going to be doing a presentation like this on custom panels, everything from printed to CNC to a combination of the two, like this Kohler product or new panel design. It's a new product, part of an existing line that's going to sort of expand that line. And that's all I can say, at least as far as I know. So yeah, thank you again. I'm going to close out the screen share. If people want to hang around and chat for a little bit, that's totally cool. Otherwise, drop your questions in the email or in the chat, shoot me an email, shoot me a text if you have my contact info already. Always happy to chat. We can even just talk about books or movies or records or whatever. So yeah, thank you so much for popping by.
Are you still there, Brandon?
I'm still here.
Sorry, I unplugged my internet accidentally
okay,
and
man.
I dropped the call for a minute. I have a question. I've been working with Sam Bratt on an order, but I just figured I'd ask while I have you on
Yeah.
here. So I had a client that's interested in your poppies,
Mm-hmm.
but if I'm understanding correctly, those we're not able to rig in this room, so we need something that we have to hang off of the drape or be ground supported. The poppies can't be stacked from the ground, can they?
So you can do sort of a lollipop configuration. It's a little bit more of an involved discussion. You can do a lollipop configuration. If you're going to do stacked, we'll probably want to do it on something like Schedule 40 pipe and base, just to give a little more stability. We sort of have an interior system that we can do it's been a little, the results have been a little mixed in my experience. So short answer, yes, we can do it. I think that's something, again, that like, I personally am a big believer in better safe than sorry. If it's a concern at all,
Yeah.
ask Sam to send you some sample gear. You can kind of fiddle with it in-house. But I think for what you're proposing, sort of doing like a large and then a large and then like a small type of thing. I know that's not the exact
Yeah.
configuration, but something like that you'll probably want to do off of like schedule 40, just so that way you can do the cheese broke
Yeah.
in the back, give it a little more rigidity, a little more structure.
Okay. I mean, I've recommended some super columns
Okay.
instead with like the fizz look because it's kind of similar. But I'm just trying to figure out the client didn't really like that option, so I'm
Sure.
trying to figure out what else we can do because the poppies aren't really going to be an option because we have to either hang off of the drape or
Mhm.
be ground supported. So columns would be perfect if I could sell around those. So
Cool. But yeah, I mean, like I
all right.
said, like I'm a big believer in being overly cautious. If it's a concern at all, ask Sam to hook you up with a sample of like two medium, a large, and two small, and that way you can play around with it in house and just make sure everything's going to work the way you want it to. Uh, yeah, it's always better to be better safe than sorry.
Yeah, well, we have an event on January 29th
Mhm.
that I've ordered some super columns, so I'm
Okay.
going to try to get this client in to take a look at
Cool.
that. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think once she sees it, she'll that's an easy sell if they see it.
Cool.
So
Another suggestion I make is the Chads, this one right behind me here, because it does sort of have
Mhm.
that circly effect. Another workaround might be our Edgeo, because it's a little bit more of like an Art Deco-y look, but you can do like big circles. Um, Mike, shoot me or Sam an email and I can pass along an example, or I can drop it in the chat. Give me 1 second here.
okay, it's called Edgeo.
Yeah, EDJO. And
Edgeo.
you'll
Okay,
see
yeah,
what
if you
or
could.
no, excuse me. It's called Ohm. I'm thinking of the wrong panel.
Oh, ohm
OM.
like ohm
Yes.
Hey, Mike,
OHM or just OM.
And I just shot you the link over there. Take a look. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's a little more Art Deco-y, like I said, but you can do sort of those circles. You're going to have a mix of like circles and like diamond shapes, but I think it might be a decent workaround for what you're proposing. But again, it all kind of boils down to personal aesthetic.
Okay, did you email that to me or
I put
I
it
don't
in
see it
the
in the
chat here. If you don't see it, let me know.
I don't see it.
Okay.
I have a
Mike.
question for you, Mike. Have you thought about using pipe and drape sidearms to get them rigged out over the drape? Over your drape line?
No, I haven't. That might be an option.
I've done that a few times where I've needed to hang some scenic that's light enough weight.
Yeah. So what do you do? Just
I do
you put
a second row of drape in front of the main drape line on a sidearm,
and you're just hanging those on like
a crossbar.
schedule
There's like
schedule
another pipe
40.
and drape crossbar in front of that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just dropped that link in
Yeah.
the chat again. I think I sent it to the wrong person. So
Oh, I see
cool.
something there now. So maybe that's it.
It works pretty cool. I've done it on a few occasions.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. I'll consider that. Is that something, Brandon, what Andrew's saying there, is that something I could possibly do with poppies? Or do
I
they?
think so. That being said, I've been kind of fiddling with tracking down that link while you guys were talking. So shoot it to me
Okay.
into an email that I can show someone and we can figure it out from there.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, so I got the ohm thing.
Cool.
Yeah, I can see that now. And are those just super Libra panels? Is that what those
Mhm.
are though?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And they measure, like I said, 22.5 inches by 22.5 inches. You can do them, as is, as you see on the site. You could also back these with Frosty as well if you wanted that sort of like diffuser look.
Is that what is in this picture? Is that the purple? Is that frosty on the back of it?
That I think is actually propane's on the backside. So I think that's like
Okay.
sort of that light box effect that I was talking about. because you can see
Got
the levers on the back, which to me, if you're backing these with Frosty, you're not going to be able to see the interior. So the fact that you can see like the acorn nuts on the backside to me says that it's propane.
Oh, okay, so if it's frosted, you wouldn't see
Correct.
that. You
Yep.
just see the front. Okay. Cool. All right. Oh yeah, I can kind of see those done in columns here too. So okay. Well, I'll say I'll try to get this client in. They'll take a look at these other ones that we have, and
Cool.
I'm really pushing your stuff. I think it's a really good inexpensive option that
Awesome.
adds some cool scenery, you know? So
Mhm.
yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, man. Like I said, give us a shout with any other questions. We'll figure it out. If I don't know it, if Sam doesn't know it, I can run past the team or we can fiddle around with it in-house, like I said. So just, yeah, always ask.
Okay. And thanks, Andrew, for your input.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll consider
I-
that stuff.
I have something
Yeah.
that belongs to you guys that left behind on our loadout.
Oops.
One of those.
Yeah. It's a T6.
Yeah, I know. They're fun.
Yep.
Actually, I could probably come out to Lidditz and see your shop and bring these with me. I'm actually in Delaware.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, just shoot me an email or whoever your contact is, Andrew. I'm more than happy to give you a tour and show you the sites. Yeah. Otherwise,
Depending on which client I am working for, I have different contacts.
yeah, no worries. I mean, so full disclosure, we don't make commissions, so whoever you can get a hold of will be able to help you out because we're not fighting over clients or anything like that. So
Yeah.
just if you want to even just if you don't have time to get out here with the snow, I know it's been a mess. I don't know how hard you guys got hit, but if you just want to drop it in a UPS envelope, we can
Yep.
shoot that label over to you.
Yeah. I have your shipping address. I can
Cool.
get it over to you. I had 2 of these just after the
It
truck
happens,
left
man.
too.
They're little pieces, and there's always so much stuff. It's all good.
Cool. Well, thanks for your time. This has been super informative.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much for stopping by. And like I said, if it's ever a question, let us know. Otherwise, I'll keep an eye out and hope to hear from you soon.
Cool. Thanks. Take care.
Yep. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Huter, how may I help you? Where did you go? All right. So for the folks who are muted, I'm going to give you another minute or so, and then I'm going to call it. Like I said, if you ever have any questions, please email us. Steve, we will be emailing out copies of the record. I believe the folks in marketing are going to handle that. If you don't see it in the next week or so, give me a shout. We'll get it over to you somehow. Okay, and I'm going to make the executive decision to call it. So thanks so much again for those who are hanging around. Our shop tours is something available. Yes, shop tours are available. Reach out to whoever it is your contact is, or if you get a hold of me specifically, and we will figure it out. Always more than happy to give folks a tour. Cool. Awesome. And with that, we are going to call it. So thank you again to those of you still hanging around. Bye-bye.